Hello, my name is Jim Gurman, and welcome to today's episode of
Kilimanjaro.
Today we'll be taking a look at the Milwaukee Cordless Multi-Tool. Now this is an oscillating tool very similar to the fine Multi-Master, which really popularized this genre of tool. This is the bare tool version. It's model number M2426-20. Now there's a one battery version, which is the -21, and a two battery version that's the -22. The bare tool one retails for about $90. The one battery is about $30 more at $120, and then the two battery version is another $30 at $150. With the bare tool version, what you get is you get the basic tool, you get a single blade. This is actually not the original blade, this is a Bosch blade. You get the sanding pad adapter and a couple pieces of sandpaper, as well as the little instruction booklet. Now the other two things that you get that are very important is the Allen key to change the blade. This does not have a toolless blade change, and an adapter plate. Because there's a ton of different manufacturers now making this type of tool, there's also a bunch of different types of blades, and to accommodate all the different types, you get this little adapter. The big problem with this little adapter is that it's very easy to lose. There's nowhere to store it on the tool, and once you lose the adapter, you're much more limited in the type of blades that you can accommodate. The Bosch blades and the Milwaukee blades obviously both fit on the tool without any issue without the adapters. The typical battery looks like this. They do make an extended version that has a little bulge on the bottom. Now the battery slides into the base like this. However, it's a little tricky to get in. Sometimes if you don't have it aligned just right, it won't slide in properly, but usually just line it up and then slam it in. It does wiggle around a little bit in there, so it's not the best fit. Pretty easy to get out. You just squeeze the sides and pull it out. So with the battery in, first thing we'll notice is that there's a little battery gauge. When you turn the tool on, that lights up. With the 4 lights means that it's fully charged. It's pretty accurate about how much battery life you have left, at least on this tool. On some of the other M12 tools, it'll shoot straight from 4 down to 1 with nothing. It's also got a variable speed dial right here. You go from 0 to 12. Not the most useful thing in a multi-tool. Most of the time you just want it to be at the full speed, full power. Up top is a switch. It's not a momentary switch. It switches on and then switches off. That's nice. You don't have to hold it down while you're using the tool. Moving on, this is not a toolless multi-tool. A lot of the nicer ones, the more expensive ones, there's a lever or something like that to take the blades on and off. On this one you need to use an Allen key. You unscrew this bolt right here, and then you can take the blade on and off. It's a little bit more irritating, it's significantly more time consuming, and most importantly, you're going to lose this. Now obviously you'll probably have some replacements or anything like that, but if you're off at a job site, you may not have the correct Allen key, it can be a real bummer. It would have been really nice if Milwaukee had built into the handle somewhere, some place to stick this so that you would never lose it, but it is what it is. You also get this little sanding pad, which comes with the sandpaper. I don't find this overly useful. While there's a couple times where it's very nice because you can get into the corners with this sanding pad, in general, this doesn't provide a very good sanding pattern. It's not really the most useful of sanders. As you're probably aware, there's a ton of different blades available for multi-tools. This is just a standard wood cutting blade. There's larger blades if you want to cut a whole line. There's grout cutting blades, those blades that'll cut metal. There's a Japanese type of blade that's supposed to be better for hardwoods. Various different types. This is the most common type, and it's the type that I'll use today to show you how well the tool works. I've got my safety glasses on. I'm going to give you guys a little demo of the tool. Now this is probably one of the most useful situations for this tool, and that's where you need to make a flush cut that's very close to a floor or some other finished surface. So in this situation, this would be if you're putting in a hardwood floor and you need to slip it under a door jamb, something like that. You can just take a piece of the hardwood floor and use it to guide the saw up and make a nice perfect cut that's just above the height of the floor. So this is going to be a little awkward for me because I'm going to be trying to do it a little backwards here while so you can see it on the camera. So, quick and easy, makes a nice clean cut there, and then your piece of hardwood flooring would just slip right underneath there. Very nice and easy. With my nice hardwood floor installed down here, now I'm going to put a little electrical box in right here for the little mice to use. So that's another fairly common use for these types of tools to cut through drywall. Now obviously I've switched blades because the drywall will dull a blade like this very quickly. Once again, I'm going to have to do this backwards, so it'll be a little tricky. There's the nice cutout there. Now, of course, this isn't the best job. I was trying to do it pretty quickly, and I'm also working from behind the cutout, which is not something you'd ever be working with. However, it's still a much cleaner cut than you would get with some sort of keyhole saw, something like that. It's going to leave a nice, much cleaner edge. Wouldn't require any like pre-cutting with a drywall knife or anything like that to give you a nice sharp edge. It also allows you to get nice and square into the corners. If you're using a rotary tool to do this, the corners are always going to be round. Not such a big deal, but it's one of the benefits of doing this. I'll show you how to change the blade on one of these now. First, you have to take the battery out. Always a good idea so it doesn't turn on accidentally while you're using it. You just use your hex key right in here, undo that, take this bolt out. With that out, you can see that there's some cutouts in. This is a Milwaukee blade right now. There's some cutouts in here, and they line up with all the little pins on here, which keep this blade in place while it's being used, since it vibrates very quickly. Now, I have had a couple times where if I didn't tighten this screw up enough, then the blade does come loose. This vibrates a whole ton. It's basically a vibrating machine. So if you don't make sure to tighten this very nicely, it can come out. But if you do a good job tightening it, I've never had it really be an issue. Now that you've seen it being used, I'll talk a little about how it feels in the hand and how well it works. It cuts very nicely. I've never had a problem with it not cutting well enough, not cutting fast enough, being underpowered. There's always the concern with the M12 tools that they're going to be a little underpowered. It cuts very nicely. That's not a concern. It seems reasonably well made. The battery always seems to have some difficulty going in and out. It's a little tricky to get in there. It seems to catch when you try to take it out. However, it feels very nice in the hand. It's not too heavy. Some of the bigger, the M18 version of this tool is a little heavier, a little more difficult to use, a little harder to control. The runtime on these batteries seems to work extremely well. They last quite a long time, and if you ever need to, you can always get the bigger battery for it, so it'll last even longer. This tool is also not very expensive. It's only $90 for the bare tool version, so if you already have an M12 tool that you already have some of these batteries for, it's really not a big investment. If you don't have an M12 tool, there's usually sales going on, so you can get either the bare tool and then the batteries free, or you can get a couple tools at once with some batteries. So they're usually fairly economical to buy. I wouldn't suggest this for somebody who's going to be using this all day, every day. You really want a tool that the blades are easier to change on, the batteries are bigger on, something like that. However, these tools can come in incredibly handy for almost anybody, and this is the type of tool that, because it's not very expensive and it most likely uses the same battery as some tools you already have, you can just throw it in your toolbox. You'll always have it with you when you need to make like a plunge cut that there's no other way to make. In conclusion, if you're already part of Milwaukee's M12 tool family, I'd highly recommend getting one of these. They're extremely useful to have, they work in all types of useful situations, and they can usually do something that no other tool can. That being said, if you're not already in the M12 tool, if you like the little DeWalt or the little Bosch tools better, I would keep a lookout for an oscillating tool that has a quick release mechanism on the blade. I feel like that adds a lot of value to the tool and makes it a lot less frustrating to use. Thanks for watching. If you have any more questions about the Milwaukee M12 Cordless Multi-Tool, or you have some comments about it, if you own one and really like it or really dislike it for various reasons, please feel free to leave those in the comments below. If you'd like to see more videos like this about different tool reviews and how to use different tools, please subscribe to my channel. I try to post new videos every 2 weeks or so.